till late in the third quarter. You guys were struggling offensively in that frame. Second half in general didn't feel the same as the first half on that end. Did something change for you guys? What did you see as kind of leading to stalling on that end?
Yeah, I think we were just kind of slow. And every time that we're slow, especially defensively, it just somehow affects our offense.
Sophie Cunningham didn't hold back after this one. And honestly, she had every reason not to. The Indiana Fever just let a winnable game slip away, falling 88-84 to a Washington Mystics team sitting at the bottom of the standings. Indiana built a double-digit lead and even went into halftime in control, only to collapse as Washington stormed back with a 22-7 run that completely flipped the game. With playoff positioning at stake, the loss knocks the Fever down to 7th place. Cunningham's post-game comments were fiery, and when you stack them up against Stephanie White's explanations, the contrast hits even harder. Why do you think the Fever lost this one? Is Stephanie White to blame? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.
Overhead is Cunningham with a steal.
Cunningham feeds Sims, who goes coast to coast and lays it in.
They had to make sure they had the right shot clock time as well while they were reviewing that.
So Indiana with a 10-point lead here. 6 minutes until halftime as Boston finds some space and knocks it down. Now Sims launches ahead for Mitchell. What a pass by Odyssey Sims.
Indiana built what looked like a comfortable 13-point cushion in the second quarter, going up 40-27. For a moment, it seemed like they were cruising. But that momentum didn't last. Almost immediately, Washington answered with a 22-7 surge that wiped away the lead and quieted the crowd. Suddenly, the Mystics were playing with rhythm and confidence, hitting 52% of their shots, drilling clutch threes, while Indiana's offense stalled out. What should have been a commanding advantage quickly unraveled into a fragile, one-possession game.
Why at the same time? Because I'm you and you're me. We switch bodies. Dubs in the chat.
That swing didn't come from some unstoppable star taking over. It came from the Fever letting go of the rope. Turnovers stacked up, defensive lapses kept piling on, and Indiana never steadied themselves. They racked up 21 fouls, gifting Washington 26 free throw attempts. Every sloppy pass or slow rotation turned into points at the line, and the lead slipped away possession by possession. This wasn't about bad officiating, it was about Indiana beating themselves with mistakes they could have controlled.
With 5 off the bench, Indiana has 8 first-quarter bench points. That's typically been a strength when they're playing well, as Iriafin just bullies her way inside. Now Citron being guarded by Lexi Hull. Hull goes over the screen, defends her really well. Citron just has to fire it up, and a circus shot for Citron.
Adding to the sting, it was Washington's young stars who delivered the knockout blows. Sonia Citron played with poise beyond her years, dropping 21 points, while Kiki Iriafin powered her way to 18 points and 12 rebounds, several of them critical second-chance boards that flipped the momentum. These weren't empty numbers, they were a statement. When Indiana stopped dictating the game, even a rebuilding team with rookies still finding their footing proved they could step in and take control. For a Fever squad clinging to 7th place and fighting for playoff positioning, letting a rookie duo dismantle a double-digit lead is just about as costly as it gets.
Time for the Buckeyes.
Here is the Buckeye product on a backdoor pass, but Mitchell lost the handle. Sutton thought about the three, steps in, Hull got a piece. Dolson has been wide open all possession, splashes home a three, and we are level at 46.
It's not like Indiana was completely flat, either. Aaliyah Boston was a force in the paint, finishing with 20 points and 9 rebounds, the kind of steady production that should have been enough to secure a win. Kelsey Mitchell set the tone early as a facilitator, Sophie Cunningham brought her trademark energy, and Lexi Hull hustled on the defensive end. The core showed fight and didn't back down, which makes the result even tougher to stomach. This collapse wasn't about effort, it was about the lack of direction that left those efforts scattered and ultimately wasted.
I think we over-dribbled at times. Our off-ball movement wasn't there. We did a lot of standing. It's almost like we gave the ball to Kelsey and just tried to watch her work. And that's not when we're at our best. I mean, yes, Certainly we want to have the ball in our hands, but we've got to continue to get movement with and without the basketball. It was getting stuck. I mean, we want to play 0.5 to 1 second basketball, and we weren't. And it's got to get moving.
The truth is pretty straightforward. Indiana didn't lose because Washington was the superior team. They lost because they squandered possessions, let the Mystics control the tempo, and never adjusted once the momentum shifted. It's a script that's played out all season, promising stretches unraveling into preventable meltdowns. Every step forward seems to be undone by turnovers, lapses, and missed adjustments. But now, with the playoff race tightening by the day, these late-game collapses sting far more than they did earlier in the year.
Chloe Bibby tonight, were there thoughts maybe plugging her in to try and spark the offense a little bit, or what was the decision behind not playing her?
Yeah, there were some thoughts. I think that it matched up defensively more than anything with the way that we were going to try to play them, or in some of our switches and things like that. So that was mostly the reason.
And then just with the rotation, was it just those eight or seven that you ran with? Was it just they were flowing well and you wanted to just leave that going, or what was the thought there?
Yeah, I think some of it was defense. Being able to execute the type of defensive coverages that we wanted to have against this, the way that they play.
Which brings us to the pressing question. Why was there no plan to protect the lead once it started slipping, when everyone in the building could feel the momentum shift? Who was responsible for steadying the group, making the right adjustments, or providing a reliable counterpunch? The answers all point in one direction, and that's where fan frustration has landed. Stephanie White admitted as much afterward, "I think we overdribbled at times. Our off-ball movement wasn't there."
I think we had 8 turnovers for 13 points in the second half as well. So we didn't take care of it.
We did a lot of standing. It felt like we just gave the ball to Kelsey and watched her work, and that's not when we're at our best. We've got to keep the ball moving, with and without action. It was getting stuck, and instead of playing with pace, we bogged down. And that's where her coaching decisions came under the brightest spotlight. No issue drew more backlash than Chloe Bibby's complete absence from the rotation. Bibby, shooting 42% from deep this season, didn't see a single minute in a game where Indiana's spacing and perimeter shooting vanished.
I think it was something like a 22-7 run, the end of the second, beginning of the third quarter. And those are hard to recover from anytime really, but when you're missing pieces. And, we've got to make sure that we're sharper at times. We don't have the margin to have lulls within quarters. And then I believe they had something like 21 points from free throw line and turnovers of their 26 in the fourth. And, we control that, defending without fouling. We control that, taking care of the basketball, decision making at times. And some of it's, playing some people out of position, and some of it's just not being, valuing the basketball in the way that we need to value it, being a little sloppy with it.
When asked, White explained she sat Bibby due to defensive matchup concerns, worried about rebounding and coverage issues against Washington's lineups. But paired with what actually unfolded, Indiana surrendering 26 free throws, leaving shooters wide open, and watching Kiki Iriafen dominate the glass, the explanation only deepened frustration. Fans saw a proven floor spacer glued to the bench while those very defensive issues unraveled anyway. Fans are left asking the obvious question: why was a potential spark like Chloe Bibby never used? After the game, Stephanie White was pressed on that decision. Yeah, there were some thoughts. I think it was more about the defensive matchups, the way we wanted to switch and play them. That was mostly the reason. And then with the rotation, I felt like the group we had was flowing well, so I stuck with it. But White also admitted what everyone could see: Indiana's offense kept getting stuck. Possessions too often devolved into simply handing the ball to Kelsey Mitchell and watching her try to create against multiple defenders. That phrase, "it was getting stuck," has already become the rallying line of the night because it perfectly captured what fans were watching in real time. And that's the frustration. When your system stalls into predictable isolation plays, the natural counter is spacing the floor with a shooter like Bibby. Instead, the Fever doubled down on Mitchell, leaving her to carry the burden as both scorer and primary initiator. The numbers tell the story. Indiana coughed up 8 turnovers for 13 points in the second half alone. Mitchell did her part, finishing 6-4-9 from the field with 14 points and 9 assists, but she was forced into overdrive. Late in the game, too many possessions ended with her driving into traffic, taking contested looks while floor spacers stood untouched on the perimeter. That wasn't a flaw in her decision-making; she produced under pressure. But the sets became predictable, and Washington knew exactly how to collapse the paint against her. And that's how a 13-point cushion unraveled into a 22-7 run spanning the second and third quarters, the very stretch that flipped the game. Those kinds of lapses are tough to recover from at any point, but especially when you're already shorthanded. Stephanie White admitted as much afterward, noting that the Fever don't have the margin to withstand long stretches of sloppy play. Washington scored 21 of its fourth-quarter points directly off free throws and turnovers. Areas White stressed are within Indiana's control. Defending without fouling, valuing the ball, and making sharper decisions were all points she acknowledged fell short. Some of it came from players being asked to fill roles out of position. Some of it was simply careless execution. What gnaws at fans, though, isn't just the final score, it's the sense that Indiana undercut its own strengths. A roster built with shooting, veteran grit, and an all-star anchor in Aaliyah Boston instead found itself stuck in rotations and sets that clogged rather than freed those weapons. Washington didn't take over with overwhelming star power. The Mystics capitalized on predictability and on the Fever's selective use of personnel. That's why the criticism has centered on strategy, not effort. The players left it all on the floor, grinding through every possession to keep the game within reach. But the coaching decisions are being judged as a weight that dragged momentum down, and with playoff seeding tightening, every misstep now carries magnified consequences. At the same time, you can't ignore the contrast. While the rotations drew scrutiny, the players themselves refused to let the night slip without a fight. Boston battled inside, muscling through defenders for left-handed finishes. She grabbed offensive rebounds and created looks for teammates like Natasha Howard. The Fever worked through sets, step-up screens, weak-side flares, and late shot clock actions, trying to manufacture the right shots. 4 stretches, they executed and even built a 10-point lead midway through the second quarter. Boston's composure and production were a reminder of the foundation Indiana has, even on a night when everything else went sideways. Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, Sophie Cunningham, and Odyssey Sims all delivered the kind of performances that usually put Indiana in position to win. Boston set the tone with 20 points and 9 rebounds, commanding the paint and drawing Washington's defense into constant collapses. Mitchell carried a massive load as both scorer and facilitator, finishing with 14 points and 9 assists, numbers that only hint at how much she was asked to shoulder once the offense bogged down. Cunningham added 8 points, but her impact stretched far beyond scoring, contributing 6 assists and 3 steals, including the highlight sequence where she intercepted a pass and immediately buried a 3 on the other end. Sims, in just her second game on a hardship contract, chipped in 11 points while relentlessly attacking defenders and giving Indiana its closest look at a true point guard presence all season. Even late, they kept pushing. Down 6 with just over 5 minutes to play, Mitchell threaded a pass to Boston for an easy 2. Moments later, Boston muscled her way through traffic for a rebound and quick putback, refusing to let the game slip without a fight. But context matters. This isn't just a team plugging gaps, it's a roster stripped of its backcourt foundation. Caitlin Clark remained sidelined, while both Sydney Colson and Ari McDonald suffered season-ending injuries in the same week. That forced Indiana to scramble for reinforcements, signing players like Sims and Lambert simply to keep the rotation afloat. For a group suddenly stretched thin at the most important positions, the margin for error is slimmer than ever.